Well, I spoke with a remarkable, inspiring woman, Aviva Siegel. She was a former hostage in Gaza. She's lived to bear witness to horrific crimes. Here is that interview and a warning. Her story is confronting, but it's a story that you must hear. Aviva, a year ago, you were kidnapped from your home at the kibbutz Kfar Aza by terrorists. What happened?
Can you believe that somebody in their pajamas in bed would be taken to Gaza? Because that's hard for me to understand and believe. Keith and I'm 63 and Keith is 65 years old, American citizen, and we were just taken from our house in such a brutal way. On the way, they pushed Keith and broke his ribs and shot us. I remember seeing the bullets coming very close to my foot. I'm lucky, but they shot Keith on his hand. So we arrived in Gaza while Keith was bleeding and he was in such pain. And I just didn't even know what my name was when I was there, because I was just so scared of everything. Everything was done in such a brutal way, and we older people. So we were in our little shelter while they tried to kill us with their bombs, and there was bombs that were coming and coming and coming, and I was shaking, and Keith was trying to relax me and calm me down and saying, "You're safe, Aviva, you're in the shelter." But we weren't. They just opened the door. They shot our house, and I remember them walking inside my house, opening the door, and just pulling us out.
When you arrived in Gaza as hostages, there were celebrations on the streets.
There was. You know, mothers with babies, older people with sticks, the whole family, every age that you can think about it. They were so happy. It was like a party for them, while Keith and I were shaking and just wanted to scream and cry and did not understand what are we doing there in Gaza.
Now, you were moved around a lot in Gaza, 13 different locations. Can you tell me about how you were treated while you were held hostage?
We were treated all the time in such a brutal way. They starved us and ate in front of us. They didn't give us water while they drank. One of the times, Keith begged them for so many times, and then I said to Keith, "Can you beg just once more? Just once more?" And he took the bottle and held the bottle and hold it until he brought us water. And then when he did bring us the water, he brought the bottle and threw it at us. The conditions were the worst conditions that you can think about. I just thought that I'm going to die, that Keith's going to die. What will happen if Keith will be in the bathroom and I'll die? Or what will happen if the ceiling falls on us? And if they shoot us? Or if they're going to starve us again? And I want to tell you that the hostages, they have been there for a year. I was there for 51 days. And I know exactly what they're going through.
Your husband Keith's still there now, still suffering.
He's lying on a filthy, dirty mattress, just like a rug, with no human rights. We weren't allowed to move. I wasn't even allowed to cry. And just think about it, when they in such a brutal way tortured my husband that I've been married to for 45 years. I wanted to scream and cry, and I wasn't allowed to cry or scream. I just had to keep myself quiet. When I looked at the girl that came back, and she was shaking.
She was taken to the next room?
She was taken to the next room. I got up and gave her a hug because I felt like her mother. And while I did that, I got screamed at. And after a couple of hours, she told us. He touched me. And you know, just a couple of days ago, I just remembered how brave she was after that happened, because if somebody would do that to me, I would scream at him. I would try and kill him. But she continued to smile to him, to show him that everything's okay, because he threatened her, that if she'll ever tell anybody, then he's going to kill her.
I know this is a very difficult thing to talk about, but you were at various times with young girls, and the issue of sexual violence, whether they were pregnant, was a live question. What can you tell me about that?
I know for sure that Keith told the girls not to tell me everything, because I'm very sensitive. And the girls did not stop talking about their periods. And I'm just so scared to think about them falling pregnant. And I do know that they are now underneath the ground and just waiting to be the next one to be raped, or to be touched, or to be starved, or to be hidden or beaten up into pieces. Because that's exactly what happened while I was there for the 51 days.
For some time you were moved from civilian house to civilian house, but you and Keith were also held underground in the tunnels. What was it like under there, in these dark tunnels so far away from reality and sunlight?
Yes, and then you come to a house and there's somebody at the bottom of the ground smiling and happy while you're shaking, and you have to go down. You just have to go down. I shaked with the ladder going down, and they took Keith and I underneath the ground, 40 meters underneath the ground. And going down, we could feel that there was no oxygen. We arrived to a little arch that's open, small, the three of us, Keith and I and somebody else. And we just tried to figure out if we're going to live or not. We had to lie down on the mattress on the floor. And one of the times Keith said that he feels that he cannot breathe, and he was like this. And you know, it's hard to explain in words what the meaning means by trying to figure out if there's going to be oxygen for you or if you're going to live. But it's the worst feeling in earth for me to look at Keith, that he can hardly breathe, and think, maybe Keith will die in front of my eyes.
Well, how do you live every day? How do you cope with the knowledge that your beloved, precious husband Keith and some of the girls that you met and hugged and were like a mother to are still there underground in Gaza?
The worst thing in earth, the worst thing for me there was when they tortured Keith and the girls. And I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I had to keep quiet. We weren't allowed to feel. I had to hide myself crying. I had to put my hand on my eyes, just like this, and lie down on the mattress, on the floor, because we weren't allowed to feel while I wanted to scream. One of the times they took one of the girls and they put a blanket over her and handcuffed her, and they beat her up into pieces. And when she came back, she was shaking and crying, and I couldn't even hug her because I wasn't allowed to. And I felt like her mother.
I'm so sorry, Aviva. I'm so sorry.
Terrible.
So on this 1-year anniversary now, what do you want to see happen? You've met US President Joe Biden twice, you've met Antony Blinken several times, you've met the Prime Minister here in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. What do you want to happen? How do you think the hostages would be released?
I want everybody to listen to my words. They aren't just words. It's what I went through and what the hostages are going through. They cannot allow themselves to open a door in their stomach and then close it when I stop talking. They need to open their hearts and understand that these are people that are feeling, and these people that are dying slowly. And we cannot allow ourselves keeping quiet while there's people there that don't get their medicine, that are dying slowly.
The international community seems to be ignoring the hostages.
It's terrible. It's the worst, cruelest thing that anybody can go through, being underneath the ground for a year with no oxygen and feeling that you're going to die because they just are going to kill you by not taking care of any of your needs. I just want to say that Keith and I are peacemakers, and we want good for the whole world and for all the good people. And I want that everybody that thinks that we're doing to Hamas is really, really bad, rather stand up and shout for the people that live there, because they need to go back to their lives. The mothers are having babies in tents, and that should not be, it shouldn't be like that, and the older people. And the worst thing is to leave the hostages there underneath the ground to die slowly.
No one can be left behind.
No.
Not one person. Isn't she an amazing woman, Aviva Siegel?